Hello and welcome to Sunday Service with me, Graham Hughes, here on Politics Social. Nice to have at least some people in the chat, because obviously it's 8 o'clock in the morning for most of us, or 8:05, sorry, I'm a little bit late getting started this morning, for obvious reasons. They put the bloody clocks forward. I don't know. It is Sunday the 30th of March 2025. Big shout out to Sarah Davis in the chat, and Pete's Music, and Saz, and Gallifrey and Wren, and David W. How you all doing? Sorry, Dave W. Sorry, Dave. Dave. If you would like to join Dave and Pete and Sarah in the chat, all you need to do, and Saz, all you need to do is press the subscribe button and you can join them. So today we're going to be talking about cults. Absolute massive clanging cults. We're going to be taking a sledgehammer to some of the golden idols of our age. So please, if you do feel the need to put certain people on a pedestal and say that they're done, they can do no wrong. I don't know. I don't know if this is going to be the show for you. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe you might find better things to do on a Sunday morning than to, have your hero being ripped apart by me on a live stream. Because I don't care who it is. I don't care who it is. We have been burnt so many times in the past by these people who we put on a pedestal and then they just let us down. And we've got to learn. Stop doing it. Stop doing it. Stop. Why do so many people treat politicians, celebrities, and pundits like flawless gods? Why does Donald Trump get worshipped like a messiah while doing things that would ruin anyone else's life? Why do we bend over backwards to excuse people like Boris Johnson or Russell Brand or Joe Rogan or dare I say it, the previous leader of the Labour Party? Why? Hero worship isn't just irrational, it's dangerous, it's cultish, it disables accountability, it hijacks our politics, it paves the way to authoritarianism. And let's not kid ourselves, the left, has its own saints and its own sins. Today we'll look into the psychological traps that make people defend the indefensible, the misogyny that underpins it all, and the bloody trail it's left through history. This is about more than fandom. It's about power, propaganda, and this myth that certain people can simply do no wrong. So first of all, let's talk about hero worship, the uncritical adoration of public figures despite clear evidence of wrongdoing, and it turns politics into a religion. And you know how dangerous religions are to start with. And it turns culture into cults. It turns accountability into betrayal. It's not just hero worship. For me, it's not just cringy. It's catastrophic. It's the reason why the world is the way it is right now. And I've spoken about this on the channel before in the way that people love Brexit. They fall in love with Brexit. And we talked about addiction and how addiction isn't necessarily a chemical response. It's more likely to be a psychological response to needing something in your life. And addiction is effectively a misfiring of the love potions in your brain. Okay, it's love and drug use and addiction and gambling addiction, which has no chemicals in it, all activate the same brain regions: dopamine, oxytocin. There's a book called Biological Psychology from 2005 by Fisher et al., which found that the same neurological response to someone, neural response to someone being on cocaine was exactly the same as the response to someone being in love. And it's not just a chemical addiction. Like I say, it can happen with gambling. There's no chemicals there. It's not like alcohol. It's not like drugs. And then we've got this hero worship, which I think is a clear sign of people going through mental health problems. And that's not to dismiss other mental health problems and say that you can't have more than one at one time, and say that, this that people say, oh, these mental health problems that people are saying that they have these days they're not real. They are real. They are real. And if we look at it like, okay, well, this is just the way my brain is working right now, it gives us a chance to step back and be objective about who we are and why we behave in the way that we do. And so for me personally, since I got my ADHD diagnosis 2 months ago, I've turned my life around. Like, I feel so much more productive because I've had that opportunity to take that step back and look at myself and go, why'd you do that, Graham? Why'd you leave things till the last minute? Why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? Why didn't you get things done? Why did you find it so difficult to do menial tasks? Like, why? Is that like a big, climbing mountain problem? And you're in the middle of a job, and you'll go off and do something else, like get absolutely obsessed with it. I've literally written the book while I was supposed to be doing something else. Like, literally, I was supposed to be doing something else, and I was like, oh, I'll just write a book. And I wrote the Brexit cookbook. Like, I put that together because of my ADHD. But yeah, so we could do with recognizing this kind of like hero worship, adulation of these public figures. We could do with seeing it as the same sort of toxic mind worm as falling in love with someone who doesn't love you back. Unrequited love, which is so freaking dangerous. It is probably one of the most dangerous things to women on the planet, is unrequited love, i.e. a man falls in love with a woman he barely knows and then obsesses over her. And it's that man's brain, and this isn't making no excuses for whatever men do, I'm just saying this is the reason leading up to it. They become obsessed. And that has injured and hurt and killed more women than anyone using the wrong toilets or the right toilets or the toilets that they want to use. I mean, and then we've got the cognitive dissonance of it. When evidence contradicts our idol, we experience mental discomfort, and then we defend them even harder. And I often think about this in terms of like a mother whose son has done something absolutely awful, but they're like, oh, but it's my little Johnny, I can't stop loving him. I can't stop loving him, And you can understand it to an extent with a mother whose son has been found guilty of a horrific crime. I still love him. He's still my son. Okay, yeah, I get that. All right, I get that there is a deep emotional and chemical bond to your offspring. But seriously, to some dickhead on telly, to a politician, to a cult leader, are you kidding me? What have they got over you? But we have this sort of what they call parasocial relationship. We feel like we know these figures. And this illusion of intimacy overrides our judgment a lot of the time. Hero worship is political heroin. That's the way we've got to look at it. It feels good at first until everything burns down. And you don't need to watch Trainspotting to know that heroin addiction, it's not great, not good. People die. People are really horribly affected. It's a poison in our society. How I would deal with it is very different to the way that the politicians want to deal with it. They'll say, oh, no, what we're going to do is we're going to illegalize it. We're going to make it illegal. But that's possibly the worst thing they could possibly do, because they don't understand that the people who are massively in love with heroin, because they're addicted to it, will get it no matter what. You can't separate two people who love each other, unless you do it physically every day, which is something that you can't actually do to 66 million people in the UK. You got to tie them up and keep them away from this other person that they love. I mean, you might be able to do it for a few people, you might be able to do it for a few drug addicts and physically stop them from getting hold of that drug. But what are you going to do? Throw them in jail? Yeah, there's no drugs in jail, mate. And then you've got the modern cult figures, the untouchables, as I call them. Donald Trump is obviously number one. Sexual predator, coup plotter, dictator in waiting. Well, dictator in chief now. I was going to say dictator in waiting. He's not even waiting anymore. But he's still seen as God's chosen by Christians, by people, Mormons and Seventh-day Advent hoppers. It's that they believe that this guy who let's just face it. I mean, this guy, like, he represents the Antichrist in the Bible more than any other human that's ever existed. Like, he is Satan. He definitely is Satan. It's like he's taken notes from the Bible of all the attributes of Satan and gone, yeah, I'll do all that. And then we've got Boris Johnson, the liar, the grifter, the rule breaker. But he's a laugh, so it's fine. And people are like, oh, you know, we're seeing it now, the rehabilitation of Boris Johnson. No. He partied while we couldn't be with our sick nans. Fuck him. Like, seriously, that man deserves no respect. He deserves no kudos. All he deserves is to be put into the political dustbin for life. But then you've got Nigel Farage. They had the fucking conference down in Birmingham this week. Was it in Birmingham? Poor Birmingham. And he's still on the political stage after Brexit. After what he did. After what he did with Brexit, he's still on the political stage. You must be kidding me. And don't forget, you know, he wrecked the country. He absolutely wrecked this country. The reason why there's poverty in this country, the reason why the Labour government are now slashing benefits is because the economy is in the shitter. Why is the economy in the shitter? Because we left the European Union. And that gobshite, that privately educated gobshite, Nigel Farage and his privately educated mates, Richard Tice and Aaron Wanks and Andy Wigmore and Jacob Rees-Mogg and Boris Johnson and Michael Gove and Isabel Oakeshit, all of those motherfuckers who told you to vote for Brexit, all of them went to private school. Coincidence? I think not. Yeah, let's do what the posh people say. Then you've got like Russell Brand. He's one of the most watched influencers on the internet, even though there's been multiple credible allegations of sexual assault against him. And yet some people go, oh no, he's telling the truth. They're trying to bring him down because he's telling, no, he's peddling shite. He's peddling shite to people. And then you got that fucker Joe Rogan, the fucking white bowling ball man. You know, he's platformed white nationalists and pseudoscientists, and he says, "Oh, I'm just asking questions," which is like, you know, the conspiracy theorists fucking creed, isn't it? But then again, you know, we're not entirely, we're not entirely absolved of this on the left. This happens on the left as well. Che Guevara. When I was growing up, when I was in university, every dickhead had a fucking Che Guevara poster on the fucking wall. It drove me up the wall. You know, he's an iconic rebel. Oh, great, okay. But people don't know what he did. People don't know he went to Congo. People don't know that he got involved in all these different conflicts in other countries. He was in Cuba. Yeah, he was also in Bolivia. You know, trying to instigate rebellion against governments rather than trying to bring them down through democratic or peaceful means. This guy killed people. He killed a lot of people. He was a brutal executioner. He killed people on his own team who were gay for being gay. He did that. Let's not forget Gandhi. Gandhi, what a lovely man. He brought down the British Empire without firing a shot. Yeah, but he also slept with little girls. He also, when he was in South Africa, he didn't defend black people. He didn't defend black people when he was a lawyer in South Africa. He thought they were scum. He wrote about them in really derogatory ways. He was interested in making life better for Indians living in Durban in South Africa, where he was at the time, but everyone else, fuck off. Mother Teresa, Jesus, she loved poverty. She thought poverty was the best thing ever. She kept people in poverty on purpose because she felt like people who were poor were closer to God. That actually happened. And don't forget, she was peddling religion, Catholicism, which wasn't a thing really in India until Whitey came along. So you had this Albanian woman coming over to Calcutta and telling people they should be Christian and keeping them in a cycle of poverty. Vladimir Ilyich Lenin. I mean, this guy was a revolutionary, and he's held up like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. He overthrew, not the monarchy. The monarchy had always been overthrown earlier in 1917, okay? There was about 6 months when they had a fledgling democratic government. Lenin and his mates overthrew the fledgling democratic government and instigated an autocracy, and he was a mass killer. He also had the royal family executed brutally. And then you've got that previous leader of the Labour Party, whose name I will not mention on this channel. Principled man, yeah. I've no doubt about it. But many of his supporters still to this day will fail to admit strategic failings and the pain caused by his leadership's blind spots, if I'm feeling charitable. The guy supported Brexit, guys. He supported Brexit. Something that he knew would make the poorest people in this country even poorer. But he went to a private prep school. Do you think he gave a fuck? He surrounded himself with privately educated advisors. Every single one of his advisors went to private school. They never lived in the real world. And yet, people are like, oh, he was in charge. Oh, if he was in charge, it'd be so different. It'd be so much better. Yeah, maybe not better for, I don't know, kind of religious minorities, maybe, in his own party who just, didn't want to be there. Anyway, we're not going to get into that debate today. I'm going to do I could do a whole 6-hour show on that, but, I'm not going to. I don't want to bore you to death. And then you've got the history's heroes, and their body counts. You've got Julius Caesar, who killed the Republic of Rome, set himself up as dictator for life until he was murdered by a gang of senators, who then put another dictator in charge. You got Napoleon Bonaparte. He was a brilliant general, but he turned into a power-mad emperor. You got Adolf Hitler. Hitler's, history's darkest case of hero worship. The cult that led to genocide. You got Mao Zedong of China. This guy who was put on this pedestal, idolized, while 45 million Chinese people died. 45 million. And then you've got Stalin. Uncle Joe to the West. The guy was a mass murderer to his own people. He probably outdid Mao Zedong in the amount of Russians that he killed, or people in the Soviet Union, actually, which is now 15 countries. He was from Georgia, Not the state, the country. He was from Georgia. These people were adored. They were worshipped. When Stalin died, there was people there with placards of Stalin's face. When the Berlin Wall fell, when the Soviet Union fell apart, there were these little old ladies dressed in black walking through Red Square with placards with Stalin on the placards. They got away with their atrocities until it was too late. And people made excuses for them. Like, oh, well, you can't take what he says seriously. And also, there's a point here about hero worship. There's some deep-seated misogyny in it. Let's face it, hero worship is a man's game, and it's a woman's curse. Men become gods where their flaws are reframed as charisma for some reason. You've got Trump branding himself as an alpha male. You've got people saying that Russell Brand is misunderstood. You've got people saying that Boris Johnson is just a cheeky chappy, Whereas women are conditionally idolized. And then they are destroyed. Time and time again. Look at Princess Diana. She was glorified, then she was hunted and destroyed by the same machine. She was killed by the same machine that put her up on a pedestal, that put her on the front cover of their newspapers every day for 17 years. You have Britney Spears, another example, loved, broken, imprisoned, freed, perhaps only when it was PR friendly. Meghan Markle, vilified for speaking out. Marilyn Monroe, she's probably the ultimate example of this. She was turned into this symbol, this amazing symbol of womanhood, where we want women to be a bit naughty but pure at the same time. We want them to be one thing and the other. We want them to be virgins and mothers. And she was denied her humanity, and she ended up overdosing. And this shows the patriarchy's double standards. Men's flaws are seen as charisma, whereas women's flaws are seen as failure. And male heroes get forgiveness, and female icons get cancelled. There's some deep-seated misogyny in this. And if you think about it, we do this all the time. We build up certain celebrities to knock them down, right? I'm not saying this doesn't happen at all with male celebrities, but 9 times out of 10, it's a woman that we do that to. We go, oh my God, they're beyond reproach. and then they do one thing, and it's like, that's it, it's over, it's over. And that also links into the whole love stroke obsession addiction angle on all this, because people do the same thing with love, and people are much more forgiving of someone that they are not sexually attracted to or romantically attracted to in a conventional way. They will forgive their mates for stuff that they wouldn't forgive their partner for. This happens a lot. When men are worshipped, they become untouchable, but when women are idolized, they become disposable. And then you've got the consequences of this bloody hero worship. It kills democracy. If your guy can do no wrong, there's no room for debate. Anything they do that's bad is shut down as fake news, or it's a hoax. It's a hoax. You can't say anything. Oh, that guy didn't do a very good job. Oh, it's a hoax. Oh, actually, you fell for the hoax about this person. You hear that on the left, and you hear it on the right. It's the same fucking rhetoric on both sides. And it breaks movements where dissenters are exiled, and movements become echo chambers, and we see this a lot on the left and on the right. You see the same process playing itself out across the world. This isn't just, that is Eurocentric, British-centric, or American-centric. This is across the world. We see this time and time again. Purity tests. I constantly, I've written screeds about bloody purity tests and how they destroy the left. Because we can't work together, because we've all got our own way of doing things, and all the rest are wrong. It's my way or the highway. And I say, no, there's more than one way to skin a cat, which is a horrible expression, but, allow me to use it in this instance. There's a lot of different ways to reaching where you want to go, okay? There's a lot of different paths. When I was traveling around the world, sorry to bring it back up, but when I was traveling around the world, if there was only one route into each country, I would have been fucked. I wouldn't have been able to finish the journey. I would not have been able to do it. I had a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, a plan D. Sometimes I had a plan M or plan N or plan O. I got that far to how do I get, and there were multiple paths. There were multiple ways into a place, ways I could get in, ways I could get a visa, ways I could get a letter of invitation, physical ways, multiple borders that I could choose from to say, right, I'm going to go in through that border. And if I don't get in through that border, I'll go to a different border. But we don't see that. For some reason, we are blinded to that. And we saw this a lot. Well, I saw it a lot in the fight against Brexit, where everyone had their own idea of how to fight it. And I was like, great, cool, let's do them all. And people were like, no, my way or the highway. And I'm like, we don't know what's going to work. We don't know what's going to work. No one's ever had to fight against the government and the opposition for a stupid thing that they want to do that's going to make poor people poorer and destroy our economy for decades to come. As we are seeing now, anemic growth. Well, what do you expect? It also enables authoritarianism, this hero worship. History shows us time and time again where this ends. And this is something I was talking to my partner last night about this, and I'm probably boring her to death, but I was talking about how history doesn't evolve. We just don't seem to learn from it. It's just the same beats cycling over and over again. It's like endless remakes of the same movie, just with different actors playing the roles. That's it. Whereas the history of science, the history of progress, the history of innovation, the history of video games even started simple and got better and better and better because it learned from the building blocks from before. And people talk about, oh yeah, history, science doesn't get everything right, Graham. And I'm like, yes, but it's built up this amazing, impressive system of being able to observe stuff in the observable universe and see what works and what doesn't. And when things don't work, we put them to one side. And when they do work, we keep doing that thing. And we might find that the thing that we find works isn't perfect in all circumstances everywhere in the universe, but that doesn't matter. What matters is the discovery, the finding out. It's all adding to that information. It's always something new. It's that, that idea of, if you charted it, it would be like a line going up. With the, we knew fuck all 2,000 years ago about science, and then we gradually started learning more and more and more. And we built on what people had learned in the past. We don't have to relearn that we live in a heliocentric solar system in order for us to understand, the planets. They're like we don't have to understand that again, it's given knowledge. It's like, yeah, the sun's in the middle. Sun's in the middle. We all sort of go around the sun. I say sort of because you don't quite go around the middle of the sun. You go around a place called the Barleycorn or something. I don't know, it's not the Barleycorn. There's a place that you, because it's a dance, isn't it, between two astronomical objects. Anyway, yes. What's the name? If anyone knows the name for the point of which two objects in space revolve, it's called something like the Barleycorn. I know I'm just making that up. It sounds a bit wrong. I don't think it's wrong, but that's what it's really called. But yeah, you don't have to go back and relearn elementary sums in order to do calculus and in order to do quadratic equations or whatever. You know, you already know that those sums are a given. 2 plus 2 is 4. You know. Whereas history, like I say, it just seems like a bad sitcom that is just repeated and remade ad nauseum with different actors, but always with the same jokes. So how do we fight back? If you can't criticize your hero, you don't have a hero. You have a god. So what we need to do, we need to kill our idols. Metaphorically. I mean, not. I'm not calling for violence here at all. But admire ideas, not individuals, and normalize criticism, even for me. It's fine, as long as you're not calling me names or something. So I have to bring you off the channel because you're annoying me. But a bit of constructive criticism is good. Just don't go for ad hominem attacks. Just say you're wrong because of this, and this. Okay, let's discuss it. Sometimes in the chat here, we've completely derailed the conversation that we were having because we go on a different tangent because someone makes a really, really good point. And it's not like people watching this are all like, oh no, I better not say this to Graham because he'll get very upset with me. I'm like, no, come on. Yeah, there's giving healthy debate, and then there's being insulting, isn't there? So don't be insulting. Don't be a troll, essentially. So yeah, normalize criticism, especially of your side, especially on your side. And also we need to teach media literacy, so people can spot propaganda, emotional manipulation, and cult tactics. I think it's a bit too late for the older generations, but for the kids coming up, this is something that we definitely need to do, because look at the damage it does with the manosphere and the likes of Andrew Tate and that Ben Shapiro creep and that weird talking Jordan Peterson, Kermit the Frog guy, and then we've got to have support systems rather than saviors. Movements should be able to survive without messiahs. I don't really like it when people say, "Oh, we need a sort of a person to rise up, like the chosen one, like Anakin fucking Skywalker, to fight against the forces of evil. We need someone, this talisman to come up." And I'm like, it's got to be a group effort. You can't. I don't think you can just have like an anti-Trump who's going to take down Trump. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think it needs to be an entire movement. But yeah, with figureheads, sure, but like with multiple figureheads, because that some of them are going to be not perfect and they're going to fuck up. And if you put all your eggs in one basket, just think about it for a minute. Like if you say, "Oh, our entire movement is based around one person," like Trump, it all ends with them. It all ends with them. When they get knocked off the pedestal one way or another, whether that's by, doing something really bad or, a bullet, then that movement is over. It is gone. It is kaput. It is auf Wiedersehen. Okay? So like if you want to build a movement that will echo through the ages, it needs to be based on more than hero worship of one person who's particularly good at rhetoric, public speaking, whatever. It needs to be a movement with more than one passionate, erudite, brilliant speakers pushing for it. Because I've seen time and time again that the people that you put on a pedestal will let you down. Rolf Harris. I loved Rolf Harris when I was a kid. I thought he was fucking brilliant. Rolf's cartoon time and the shows he did about painting and things like that, getting people into the arts. I thought that was fantastic. But when it was found that he was he was a nonce, then that was it. Dropped him like a hot stone. And then another good example is John Bercow. John Bercow, during the whole Brexit debate, he was fantastic. He was brilliant. Loved having him as a Speaker of the House of Commons. We might be in a very different situation right now had he not been the Speaker of the House of Commons. But when it came out that from an independent inquiry that he'd been bullying staff, and I spoke to people who had worked with him and who told me, it's the way he is. He's a bit like that. I was like, oh, okay. Dropped him like a hot stone. And I will not defend him. He might have done some good stuff in the past, but I'm sorry, you can't behave like that in public office. You just can't. Go and do something else with your life. That's fine, But just don't be, don't be going on thinking that you can continue in public office while you've got that hanging over you. But also, the converse of that is we need a level of forgiveness for public figures who fuck up and then show contrition. So I'm thinking, if John Bercow had gone, oh yeah, I fucked up, sorry about that, I would have a different attitude towards him right now, but he didn't. He kept saying, it's bollocks, it's not true. People exaggerated. He started victim blaming like bullies do. Pissed me off. I'm like, okay. If the previous leader of the Labour Party had any kind of, understanding of anything, he might apologise for letting the Tories in two separate general elections. He might apologise for the hurt caused by anti-Semitism in the Labour Party, even if he himself was maybe not anti-Semitic, something I don't really believe, but whatever. There was no contrition there. There wasn't any. There never has been. And therefore, I don't see that he should get any forgiveness. There was a guy called Morgan Spurlock, is that his name? He was the guy that did the Super Size Me documentary, and he died last year, a couple of years ago. But he was called out during the Me Too movement, and he wrote something absolutely accepting responsibility, absolutely accepting, like, yeah, I've really, really fucked up. I'm so sorry. I'm going to try to make myself a better person. And I was like, okay, probably not going to watch any more of his movies. Well, I'm definitely not now because he's dead. But I thought, okay, at least he, out the whole Me Too people, were going, okay, I fucked up. Whereas Kevin Spacey has never apologized to anybody. He has victim blamed left, right, and center. And I loved Kevin Spacey as an actor. He was fucking brilliant in Glengarry Glen Ross, in Seven, in American Beauty, so many movies. He was fucking fantastic in. And yet, fuck him. No apology. No apology. No, like, I'm gonna try to do better. I really fucked up. I'm sorry. Because they know that if they apologize, that's seen as weakness. And the people who defend them, no matter what, will only have a leg to stand on because they'll have admitted what they did. So what they need to do is just keep on denying, which is what Trump does, which is what other people, even on the left, do. So their cult members who think they can do no wrong can continue to say, it's a hoax, it's not true, it's fake news, Donald Trump would never do such a thing. So, yeah, I mean, there's also, the fact that we need to stop confusing charisma with character. We've got to stop doing that. We do it all the time. I've done it as well. I forgive friends who make me laugh more than ones that don't. I know that I do. I know that I shouldn't. I try not to. I try to be, equal across the board. But at the same time, it's like, well, if you're a funny bastard and you put something in the chat or something that makes you laugh, I'm much more likely to forgive you for being a dick last week and saying something stupid. But yeah, the future doesn't need heroes. It needs humans who know better than to worship false gods or just gods, at all. So, I mean, this is why I feel like we need to realize that a lot of people are not just fans, they're in a cult. You can see the MAGA cult. We call it the MAGA cult for a reason, because it's a cult. And it's something that we need to address, something that we need to look at, and something that we need to admit to ourselves when we do it, because we do this. We do this. And we need to stop. We need to pack it in. So let's have a look at who's in the chat. Politics really done if Andrew Tate gets in. He has the IQ of a frozen potato, says koala meat. I couldn't agree more. Tommy says, speaking on Taint, isn't it rumoured that he could be the one leading the new right-wing party with Cummings, Lowe, Habib, etc.? Rupert Lowe went to private school. Cummings went to private school. I don't know about Habib, but the other two definitely privately educated, of course. Tommy says, as well as that, UKIP has a new leader and is trying to make a comeback. There could be 4 viable right-wing parties at the next election. Good. Oh God, Spacey, tinfoil hat time. Have you noticed how many people have accused Spacey have died in strange ways? I haven't actually noticed that, but I think that he should apologise for the hurt that he's caused people. The way he went after Guy Pearce the other week for talking about his experience working with him on LA Confidential and how much it had traumatised Guy Pearce at the time, as a young man at the time, just starting out in Hollywood, and yeah, the way that Spacey responded was nothing short of Trumpian. Victim blaming. Stop victim blaming. Stop blaming the person who's, Spurlock is the name of the guy. Morgan Spurlock, that was him. We need to be realistic. People aren't 100% good or 100% bad, apart from Trump, of course, says Richard Grumpy Git. You're absolutely right, Richard. You're absolutely right. We need to understand. I mean, this is my point. I think we need to be a little bit more forgiving of people who fuck up and admit they fuck up, and a little bit less forgiving of people who we put on a pedestal and say they can do no wrong. Of course, people can do wrong. People do wrong all the time, all the freaking time. Read my list. They are all the 100% bad category, says Pete's Music. Well, yeah. Do the Shapiro impression. It's too early for that. Unex says the ultra privileged convincing the less privileged that they're oppressed because of people who are actually oppressed. That is very, very true. Scott says if it's tin hat time, Tommy, my neighbour's a secret Hobbits banned from Middle Earth for disturbing the balance of good and evil. Simon says prime examples of recently building up and then tearing down women in the media: Sangeeta Maiska, LBC, Carol Vorderman at the BBC, and social media, BTW mornings. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Simon. That we do this a lot, and we've got to stop doing it. We've got to stop doing it. I mean, and I say we. I mean, I know we're not personally getting involved in this kind of stuff, but yeah, the way that women are built up and knocked down, whereas men are just built up and built up and built up. And even after their deaths, people are still eulogizing them, saying, oh, weren't they the best person that ever lived? And if only they were here now, they could have saved everyone. They could have fixed everything. And it's not true. Vladimir Putin very much relies on this cult of personality to keep himself in power. He plays himself off as this strong man in government when he's not. You're mostly correct about Stalin, but how quickly did de-Stalinization begin after Khrushchev took over, says Tommy. It happened quite quick. I mean, compared with how it was, the Russia, no, the USSR of the 1960s was very, very different to what it was at the start of the 50s. And you were still getting the odd governmental purge of people that they didn't like in the government, but it didn't extend to wiping out entire vast swathes of people, forcibly moving them from one end of the Soviet Union to the other under pain of death, marching them to starvation. That didn't happen after Stalin died, I don't think. There was a 1970s purge of millions of people. I think that was a Stalinist thing. Thank you so much to Paul Ewan for the first and possibly only super chat of today, because we've got to wrap up in a couple of minutes. Have a cuppa. It certainly won't buy a pint. Well, there's a student bar I could go to, I think, where I could get in and buy a pint. But I'm a bit too old for that now. I just look like a creepy weirdo. I'm a mature student, I'll say. Commander DJ Bear. Good morning, Greg. Good morning, chat. I'm sorry for being a dickhead. It's taken me years of practice. I feel the same way, mate. I feel the same way. Gallifrey, mate. On days like today, I take heart from the young. Trans kids deserve better. Have been piling the pressure on Streeting, which is fantastic. Yeah, because Streeting is a gobshite. He should not be anywhere near health at all. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's good at the old rhetoric. He's good at responding. He's good at debates. He's quite polished in that respect. But at the same time, I don't think that he has the right attitude and the compassion required for the role that he has in health. True, the USSR was still a terrible place to live even after Stalin. Yeah, well, it was, of course, but people make excuses. People on the left, the tankies on the left in this country, made excuses. They're still doing it to this day. They're making excuses for Putin for invading Ukraine, like he had no choice in the matter when he totally did have a choice in the matter. Like, we all have a choice, you know, should we go and murder a bunch of people or should we not go and murder a bunch of people? There's a choice, and most of us make the choice not to murder a bunch of people. So, in conclusion, cults are bad. Stop being a cultist. No one's above reproach. No one is to be put on a pedestal, and we need to call it out more when people do. And when our friends, I'm sorry we've run out of time a bit. I would have liked to talk a little bit about how we handle it when our friends are totally in love with an internet influencer or president or a prime minister, how to talk to them. But just to cap off, it's a bit like, the way you have to talk to someone when their partner's cheating on them, doing them wrong, you know, making their lives a misery. Sometimes you need a friend to point it out. Anyway, be a friend. Okay, so I'm going to head off now. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Thanks for all the chat. Sorry I didn't get through everything. Obviously, it's a short show today because, first of all, I started late. And secondly, I'm going to shunt you all over to go and watch the Sunday roast today with Alex, Political X, and friends. So if you want to head over in that direction, just stay tuned to this channel. And after the credits, you'll go over there. So I'll see you I'll see you maybe later today. Might do a little show tonight. If not, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Morning brew here on Politics Social. I've been Graham Hughes. You've been amazing. Until next time, hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.